Modern spirituality often promises peace through strict discipline and rigorous habits. Yet for many people, forcing the mind into these narrow, rigid channels of purity triggers an uncontrollable internal chaos. Using the intellect to enforce goodness requires us to shove our natural, messy emotions deep underground. In 1976, the Indian mystic Osho identified this tension as a mechanical failure of the ego. He argued that purity enforced by the head is artificial, a mere mask for what lies beneath. Think of the mind as a containment system. Natural fears and childhood jealousies press for recognition. When blocked by the intellect, they remain trapped, steadily increasing inner pressure metrics. We believe we're cultivating peace, but we are constructing a dormant volcano, waiting to erupt. To maintain this rigid structure, the intellect employs its most effective tool: doubt. Osho defined doubt as a physical and emotional contraction, an act of pulling inward, building a dense barrier to protect the ego's narrative. This contraction severs our connection to the broader, organic unity of existence, leaving us as isolated, disconnected nodes. Osho characterized this state of defensive isolation as the unholy state. Inside this bunker, the internal tension escalates. The mind struggles to manage the rising pressure of repressed emotions without any means of external release. The mind's ultimate survival tactic, separating us from the world, guarantees the system's eventual failure. The calculating mind cannot solve a pressure crisis it engineered. To survive the critical mass, energy must bypass the head and shift its axis downward into the physical body and the emotional core. In this framework, meditation acts as a sharp arrow, piercing the dense barrier of repression. Survival requires the individual to stop fighting. They must accept raw, irrational forces without the interference of the head's judgment. A true spiritual breakthrough begins at the moment of total surrender, when we finally let the internal dam break. Reversing the mind's contraction requires a force with a different mechanical signature: trust. Trust functions as a unifying mechanism. While doubt builds walls, trust reconnects the individual to the flow of the universe. The rigid, isolating structure of the calculating mind is completely shattered by the overwhelming power of the trusting heart. This release of energy pulls the individual out of their isolated state, moving them into a broader field of awareness. The energy enters a new dimension characterized by tenderness, grace, and harmony. This eruption marks a mechanical shift, turning destructive pressure into a unifying cosmic flow. A sweeping silence follows the eruption of trust. The internal space is left empty and still. The internal war ends because the ego has surrendered its need to control the system. Osho defines the holy state as the heart flowering in its natural, unburdened rhythm. Navigating life post-eruption relies on this organic harmony, completely bypassing the cleverness of the intellect. The spiritual journey arrives at a destination of spontaneous simplicity. Osho taught that enlightenment requires a total unlearning, a return to the state of a child. This clean slate is free from the societal conditioning, guilt, and forced rules that built the initial pressure cooker. Drop the mental armor. Stop forcing an artificial purity that your nature cannot sustain. Only by letting go of control and trusting existence can we allow the wild, simple energy of the heart to breathe.